Welcome back to Edgework on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on YouTube as Edgework HQ. We updated that now, so it's Edgework HQ on YouTube, Twitter, and on the Bet Stamp app in the Find Better section. Try to keep it pretty consistent across all platforms, easier for everybody to find us now. You can find all the picks that we give out on this show in real time and after the fact on the Bet Stamp app in the Find Better section. And guys, doing pretty good so far on the season, up 32.5 units, 6.6% ROI. Another good day yesterday for So Money and Russ, a couple wins there. So hopefully we can keep it going today on what is being called the Barn Burner Friday.
I like that.
But
I got my glasses on today for that I should have wore safety glasses. That would have been funnier.
We also got the Barn Dance intro music that plays as well, according to Rob Pizzola Sr. I was at his place last night watching the Leaf game, and he's like, Rob, you guys got to get rid of that music. You guys got to get rid of that music. I'm like, Cotton Eye Joe is like the most, like, it's such an iconic, NHL arena song. He's like, I don't know about this barn dance version you guys got going on. He's like recommending like all these different themes, which are definitely YouTube copyrighted and stuff like that. I'm like, it's okay like that. We're not losing viewership because of the 1 minute intro song, like it's okay.
Yeah, I'm getting
Speaking
DMs
of the Leafs,
from Rob's dad about changing the song. You want to talk about the Leafs, Andy? You want to talk about how good this team is? And did you go and run to the counter and get your Austin Matthews Rocket Richard ticket? So when he scores 30 over the next 10 games?
I want to sell his rookie card. I want to sell his rookie card before it's a loss for me because it's not going the way I thought it would. But I was on the Jets last night, and Leafs couldn't get out of their own end in the first period, and look how the game turns out. It's one of those nights.
Yeah, you don't bet against the team of destiny, man. It's just a lesson to be learned there, I think. Lesson to be learned.
Why, Jonathan, you haven't tuned in the last 2 months? Or?
Well, I mean, he definitely missed the episode where you got the Red Bull in the eye. I noticed you're wearing your glasses
I've got a lot worse
today.
in my eye. I've gotten much worse in my eye. I was fine. I powered through.
Look how tight those glasses are at the top of the bridge of his nose today. There's like no chance they're gonna get in his eye.
It's all right. I did extensive double checking to make sure I'm not writing games down wrong today. So we're talking about stuff that's not happening, just made up games. So hopefully we can avoid that. But we will get into some of the games for today, or both of the games for today. We'll get into what's going on in those, give our best bets, player props, and as always, you can find those when they're given out on the Bet Stamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework. So make sure to follow us there, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you want, you can listen to it back after the fact. You can find it on podcasting platforms as Edgework as well. So let's start with the first game here tonight. Ottawa, Pittsburgh, having a little rematch from their game on Wednesday night where they played in Ottawa. Tonight they are facing off in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh favored in this one, minus 130. You can find around plus 125 or so on Ottawa, widely available for the Sens tonight, 125, 130. This Ottawa team right now, kind of fun to watch a little bit with some of the stuff that some of the guys that they have there. It is a bit of an interesting situation as they thought that they were going to be a better team trading for some of these guys in the offseason, maybe having guys take steps forward. But then I don't know if you guys caught this. There was some really interesting comments from Pierre Dorian the other day with this Sens team who is out of the playoff race. And Pierre Dorian said, well, we're going to trade for some rental guys to make sure the fans and the players on the team know that we're going to still compete. I thought that was kind of interesting given the state of where their team is at. But then facing off against Pittsburgh, who is just holding on to the last wild card spot right now based on win percentage. They are tied with the Islanders at 51 points. Few games less played than them. Casey DeSmith expected to go here tonight. At the last I was seeing, I haven't seen if there's anything updated since. 3-5-2 in their last 10. They have been struggling a little bit. Favored here against the Sens, coming off a loss to them in Ottawa the other night. Andy, do you kind of feel like this is the right spot for this team?
I don't have I'm closer to the Senators than I am the Penguins right now because I'm not quite sure what Pittsburgh's lineup's going to look like. I don't know who's going to be in goal. Tristan Jarry's been skating, but it doesn't I mean I think he just returned to the ice 2 days ago. So, sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes that means he just needs a practice or two and he's back, and sometimes that means he needs a little bit longer. Don't know about Petrie or Letang or was Petrie back last game? No, he was. No, he wasn't.
Let me see.
I don't think he was.
Poling, Petrie, Letang, Archibald's out. So I mean, not really quite sure how to finalize this price right now. Also, don't know who Ottawa's starting because they're playing again tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's just a team that I can't quite figure out. The Senators are at this point, I think, a team that's not as undervalued as some people might have thought they were earlier in the season. I think Pittsburgh's a team that is kind of in flux right now, so you don't really know what you're getting at this point. They could be a team that's going to heat up and go on a run once they get healthy. They could be a team that's going to kind of struggle to make the playoffs. Not really sure.
Yeah, I agree with what a lot of Andy said. Just so everyone knows, for the audience, Matt Wenzel, who's a Pens reporter, he just tweeted that Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith are in the two nets. Dustin Tokarski is just chilling. So I would probably expect DeSmith to start and Jarry to back up based off of that. I don't know that we know for sure, but they usually just don't thrust the starter right back in his first skate. Honestly, the game between these two teams the other night was a very high-powered, as Andy would say, a barn burner. There was a lot of offense, just teams trading chances. And if we're going to get DeSmith and Talbot, I mean, I'm more inclined to play the over 6.5 with DeSmith and Talbot than I am DeSmith and Forsberg. But honestly, I don't mind that look either way. I just think that these teams are content to trade chances. Ottawa is a team that's also been scoring a lot better as of late. And
Pittsburgh's not good defensively right now, so
exactly,
kind of lines up. Yeah,
it's arbitrary endpoints that I can say Ottawa, look at their last 8 games, last 10 or whatever. But if you just look at the chart or the graph over the course of the season, their scoring has had an uptick as we've got into January here. So I personally think that the over here has a little bit of value, but I would wait, just absolutely be sure that it's not Jarry. And that you do get a DeSmith confirmation.
All right, fair enough.
Are we moving on? Are we talking about players and stuff right now? Or
you talk about whatever you want. There's only 2 games today.
You're the host. You're the host. You're the boss. You're the boss, Zach. I'm not going to take over the show.
Well, I want to get into some of the comments that are in the chat, and I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the comments coming out of Ottawa in regards to some of the player stuff. If people have questions, make sure to ask them. We do only have 2 games to go over today, so we can kind of dig into the last one shortly. But if you do have questions, please make sure to ask them in the chat. We will see them in real time on YouTube. You can head over there. So if you are watching on Twitter, unfortunately, we won't be able to see those right now, but go over to our YouTube channel and we will see them. We can answer them live. But before we get into that, the deadline is coming up. Connor Hartle bringing up here with deadline coming up soonish. Any players you'd like to see move to specific teams or any fits you think would be perfect? So we can kind of talk about that. If there's anything you guys are looking at right now, it doesn't necessarily have to be
this HF boards. Huh?
Insider trading here or anything, but I guess part of it for me just kind of lines up with what I saw out of Ottawa in regards to the fact that they would be trading for a rental piece or anything like that because they want to show the players they're gonna compete and the fans are gonna compete. I don't know what did you guys make of that and the fact that those statements were made out of a team that's not gonna make the playoffs this year.
So for me, it's like I live in Toronto. I consume a lot of the Toronto sports media, and every time I hear Dubas needs to be fired type of situation, I look around the league and I'm like, look at the alternatives that you have here. Which team that's not going to make the playoffs in any sport over in the history of the world is going to reinforce their team so that the fans are not happy with that. The fans are happy if you make the playoffs, or they're happy if you have some draft equity and you can draft someone that moves the needle for them. That's the in-between spot where nobody gives a shit. So that's way off. in right field. Like it makes zero sense. So I hope the Ottawa Senators do stupid things like that, because I love seeing that franchise just in the gutter. Sorry, Senators fans, but yeah, like that kind of stuff is just like, there's so many of these GMs in the league where it's like, how is this the person that you've put in charge of the team? Like I don't get it. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa has a lot of good things, but I'm a little biased here. I think I'm with Rob, where the hype this offseason kind of pissed me off, because it was just so clear that this team wasn't going to be good in so many ways, and the kind of Talbot, I don't know what you would call it, like washing, like like just making him seem like the a savior kind of goaltender. Yeah, I don't know. I want to see this team miss the playoffs. I mean, I'm not a big fan, so yeah. I don't care who they bring in, but I don't really, honestly, I'm boring when it comes to stuff like that. I never speculate. I'm never sitting here thinking like, oh, who could the Bruins bring in? Who could, I just wait till shit happens and kind of take it as it comes and assess it and go about it like that, because there's just so much other stuff to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I have a question for you then, Andy. You're not going to speculate on who might come or anything like that to your team, but who's a player that you would want to come to Boston at the trade deadline? Like, who's the guy that you're looking at?
But that's not going to happen. I don't know. They don't have
Timo
cap
Meier.
space. They're not bringing in anybody. They're probably, if the Boston's bringing in somebody, it's going to be like I don't know, like like some third or fourth defenseman kind of thing. Like probably like that's what I keep hearing, is that they need help on the back end, which more so than help, I think just a little more depth more than anything. But like if they could find one of those diamond in the rough kind of guys, like that is not a standout defenseman on his own, but fits really nice into a nice group. Like in Tampa they had a guy like Cernak, right? Like I mean he was really serviceable for them in the playoffs. And I mean let's just say they brought in a guy like Nick Leddy, and like people are gonna flame me for this, but like it would be like, oh, he's terrible, but like come playoff time, man, and this is old school hockey talk, but like some of these guys are good at what they do in the playoffs. They know how to play their position. They know how to not fuck it up in the crucial times, and you need that in a playoff run. And I think a lot of people still take that for granted, right? So like I know me and Michael Leboff from the Action Network have talked about this a lot, how there are some guys, some veteran defenseman guys that you'll see teams bring in, and everybody kind of flames the teams for it. But then in the playoff run, it kind of becomes apparent, like, wow, this guy's actually kind of useful right now. Like, and so I think you might see Boston bring in somebody like in that kind of vein.
Yeah, fair enough. I just think it's kind of interesting, kind of bouncing between who would you want and who's realistic and those kinds of things, because you look at Toronto and we're immersed in this market, and even aside from being a fan, it's like Rob says, every time you turn on talk radio, it's like there's speculation of who they're gonna get. Is just
dude, Boston has gotten really, like, I mean, if you look at the last 10 years as from a Bruins fan's perspective, we had Ginla, we had Nash, they went out and they got a lot of these free agents, and they were not really big hits with the Bruins, right? Like Taylor Hall I think Taylor Hall has been a good acquisition, and I think he's at a good price tag, and I think he's really found himself as a player, like as that kind of secondary scorer. And but like, I mean, I don't really like, it's not going to hurt me if they don't bring anybody in as a fan. I think they're a good team. I think in the future, it's all about the future now. Like this is a last ditch effort. This is like the last hurrah. Like if Boston ends up winning the cup next year and they are the favorite heading into next year, short that, right? Like it's not happening. Yeah. Like it's the Bruins are not going to parlay this into a big run. I don't think it's going to be a short window of success here. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess Lindholm and McAvoy could change everything. They're a great pair, and they're gonna roll for a while, I guess, with Lindholm signed for 8 years. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, question in the chat here from Austin Metler. Austin asking, are the Kraken for real? What do you think of their division prices? Best number I see is off market plus 300. So Rob, will let you take that one. Are the Kraken for real?
I don't think anyone in the West is for real. That's my so by virtue of nobody else being for real, I'd say yes. Like I like Seattle's depth. I mean, last year you kind of remember the start of last year where they were outplaying a lot of teams and they just couldn't score and they weren't getting results. And like that's totally turned for them this year, right? Where like they're finally having a shooting percentage that isn't like one of the worst in league history, basically. And I put them up against the other teams in the West, and it's not a matter of like liking Seattle. It's just they're not worse than these other teams. They're not like Vegas to me is way overrated in my opinion. I look at the bottom 6 forwards there. They're not getting production out of Eichel. The goaltending is a question mark now as well, whereas was an area of strength for them for many seasons. I look around the Kings, like the Kings are fine. I like the Kings, but like, are they world beaters? No. I just basically think that the gap between the best team in the West and like the 10th best team in the West is so small that, yeah, absolutely, I could justify a bet on Seattle at those prices. I think they're one of the teams that consistently works hard, outplays other teams, and they might not have like the top end talent of some of the other teams in the West, but they have a very solid lineup from top to bottom. Goaltending, an issue. It is for a lot of teams in the Western Conference or across the league anyways, that just haven't found that true number one. But I don't mind the Kraken. And honestly, if Seattle represented the West in the Cup, that would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah, you could really see a chance for like a Cinderella team or whatever out of the West this year. And then there's a number of candidates, right? Like, I mean, the wild card race is going to be pretty crazy come to the end of the season. It's going to be fun to watch. Yep. Like, there are going to be some, we're going to have like 2 weeks of like elimination games almost in senses, you know, like where like teams are going to be like fighting for those final spots in the West, and it's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be another probably boring finish in the East, right? But I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Seeing here, question from Eric. Eric saying, Rob, best bet to win the West at current prices.
What are current
Andy's
prices?
not allowed to
Yeah, he didn't ask me.
Yeah,
fuck, you don't want my opinion, buddy? You don't want my opinion, Eric? Fuck you,
man. Okay, let me take a quick look through the board here. I don't know why I'm still like somebody's just got to say, Rob, it's over with Calgary. Like somebody just needs to put me out to pasture. And
I was trying. I was telling you like it's not happening, but I don't know.
I still feel like the best price in the West is Calgary. I really do. I don't know why. I just feel like they have a run in them. It's crazy with hockey, right? Because we play half the season and they've significantly underperformed. Markstrom has not been the Jacob Markstrom of past, but it's like I look up and down the roster and I'm like, they're going to find it at some point. I think that they'll find it, and it's just like maybe they won't. Maybe this just happens in sports sometimes where the team just doesn't find it. It's funny, like, you know, I'm watching the Leafs broadcast last night. I'm looking at odds to win the Cup. Colorado's second. They're not even in a playoff position right now. Like, it's pretty crazy market this year. But I'm still going to say Calgary, and I'm going to look like an idiot and just be an idiot when they don't even make the playoffs. But I feel like I think
they might make the playoffs. I mean, I don't think that's like, I think the regular season might not be an issue. I think you're right about them. I just worry about God mode McDavid, man. Like it's like there's, you know, like it's a big, like Leon Draisaitl was on, I don't know, was that like what, 30-40% not even last playoff round, and about midway through that series it happened, or not even midway, I think in game 2, and they still were like, I mean, it wasn't even close. It was so ugly, and I just can't get that. That's like one of the things I can't get out of my brain from last season was like just how bad Calgary was beat up by Edmonton.
Honestly, like it's to me, just looking at the board, it's between Calgary or Winnipeg. That's the best value in the West. I think people are like, Winnipeg has an elite goaltender. They do have a bunch of skill players up top. They're playing well this year. It's not like Winnipeg teams of years past where the goalie is just carrying them through the season, right? And they're getting smoked. That to me is like, I don't know, relative to the pricing of Dallas and Vegas, Edmonton, Minnesota, it's like Winnipeg is the redheaded stepchild in the entire situation when they've just been consistently good for the entirety of the year. For me, those are the two that stand out in looking at the market in terms of where they stand right now. Like Winnipeg's prices to win the West are in the 11-1 range, basically. Calgary's, depending on where you look, could be all over the board, but as high as 11-1 as well. Those are the two that I would take a flyer on. If I was not a big futures better, but that's just my quick reaction to where I see prices.
I wonder if that's the best price. Connor says he thinks the best futures bet is the Eastern Conference to win the Cup at -136. I'm just wondering if that's what else is out there for that.
So the only challenge with that, and you tell me, Andy, if you believe that this is a thing or not, but these East teams are going to go through like some serious wars in these series. Yeah. Like those are, obviously there can be series settled in 4 or 5 games. It can happen. But like you look up and down at the Eastern Conference, you're like, all these series are going 6 or 7 games. Like there's just not much separating all these teams. And even a team that's like not as good, like Washington, they will grind a series like they did against the Panthers last year as well. So you may potentially get a team that gets to the Cup that's just played a bunch of 6-7 game series. Who knows who's going to come out of the West, but you can easily see a team just rolling their path through what is a weak West if they get hot at the right time. Like Colorado could end up going to the Cup having played 15 games or something like that.
A lot could change. Like, I mean, we talk about how the East has the elite, the more of the elite teams, and they're better teams overall. But I think, even you look down through who could finish in the lower parts of the playoff standings in the East. There are some pretty decent teams there that might not be considered elite right now that could make a run. And like you said, Washington, I mean, even I'm not going to say the Islanders, but like with a goalie like Sorokin, it's not entirely crazy to think that it could happen. I mean, crazier things have happened, right? Maybe not in today's NHL with how scoring is, and maybe the Isles couldn't keep up with that. But, you could see something like that, or a team like the Rangers, and who knows what happens with Colorado and Winnipeg and how the market sees them at that point. If things change a lot in 2 months over the course of the playoffs in terms of prices and stuff like that, you could be looking at an East. There is a chance. It's not it's not a guarantee that the East team is going to be a favorite in the end. It's a pretty good chance, but I don't think it's a total lock by any means.
All right, let's look at this game here tonight quickly, as I don't know if we have much going on in this one, but Calgary, Vancouver right now, or Colorado. Vancouver, Colorado.
Not this again, Zach.
I caught it right away, and it's at least right there. Colorado, Vancouver, Colorado. As we're talking about them, they are 2 points behind Calgary for that second wild card spot. They do have 3 games in hand on them. I believe 2 of those games came from the canceled ones from the Nashville flood earlier on in the year, so those will have to be made up. So it's not necessarily like their schedule was just trailing behind in that sense, but there are 4-5-1 in their last 10. Now on a 3-game win streak with some commanding wins that they've had here, beating Ottawa 7-0, Detroit 6-3, Calgary 4-1 in that last one. So another opportunity to continue to make up some ground on the Flames here tonight. If you're looking at this game against the Vancouver Canucks, that team is an absolute disaster, just from a managerial standpoint, coaching situation that they've got going on. Is there anything you're looking at in this game in particular, Rob or Andy, that you'd kind of lean towards, side, total, or player props in this one?
Yeah, so I have a player prop in this one. Honestly, I think the game is priced fairly.
We don't know if Makar is going to play, right? I think he's out. I don't know. I'm guessing he's out.
I think so. Makar is from Calgary originally. The fact that he did not play in Calgary leads me to believe that it's probably a multi-game absence, or else I think he would have kind of gave it a go. That's just pure speculation, but that's the logic behind thinking Makar is out. Actually, before I give my pick on this game, I know, Andy, you've talked in the past before about like star player being out, team plays better. Does that apply to like first game, second? Like,
I look at it more as a first game thing, but I mean, I think it's kind of like arbitrarily. I look and I do see like, You obviously see it too, where teams like the when they have a star player out for a few games and they go on like the Chicago earlier, they went on a 3-game win streak without Patrick Kane, right? Like it, I don't know if that's just noise, but I do think specifically in the first game, there is that added next man up bump where guys try to elevate their game, and the team tries to elevate their game. I don't know, but I just know that I'd be in the poorhouse if I continued just betting blindly on player news like I did in the past.
Yep. I mean, I think we've seen it so far this year. I don't know if it's noise or not. I'll do this work in the off season to see if it's actually like, we're dealing with small samples of star players being out. So we don't know, because it looks like every single time a star player is out, their team still wins the first game. Like, it's pick it up mentality, right? Like next man up type of thing. But maybe maybe I need to do some digging into like the actual peripherals in those games and like the metrics, the Corsi, the expected goals, to see if there's actually something there, if it's just been lucky situation. But go ahead, Andy.
No, you go back to what you were going to say before.
So for this game in particular, I like a player prop here. I like
Jarry expected to start. That just came out.
Beauty. So that's going to change everything.
1 minute ago from Daily Faceoff.
So no over for me there anymore. Pittsburgh, honestly, I think maybe has a little bit of appeal now. Minus 130, minus 135 range. I don't know.
Oh,
Close.
It's come down there?
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. When I said earlier, FYI, when I said I was closer to Ottawa when they were at like plus 130 or higher earlier.
So I was looking at Pinnacle's market now, which is 130.
Now I'm right around where Pittsburgh is.
At this point, it would be Pittsburgh or nothing for me in that game. But nothing, it's going to be nothing is the likelihood. Elias Pettersson to score a goal for the Vancouver Canucks. You don't have to tell me how bad Vancouver is. For the most part, they still score. The one thing that is, it's no secret as to what I do for people who've been watching the Friday edition of this show. But I like to try to catch people who have been playing well and maybe not getting the results. And since 2023 began, Elias Pettersson has 5.03 individual expected goals. And he scored one time. And that's because he has a 2.5% shooting percentage this year, which is well below his career high. Now, Pettersson's not known as like, the best shooter on the planet or anything like that, but consistently over his career, he shot 16%. And this is over 5 seasons now where, he hasn't had a shooting percentage anywhere near as low as this year, which is 12.2. But even then, I think he's just due for a ton of positive regression. He's still getting a lot of ice time overall. Colorado probably without their top D-man and Cale Makar as well, which I think, contributes to the ability of Vancouver to score in this game. So Pettersson to me is the guy that, and by the way, for those out there, like if it doesn't hit tonight, it's probably a bet I'll make for the next 2 or 3 games as well, just because whenever you get such a gap between the actual performance and the expected performance, those are the guys I like to target. We did it with Anders Lee earlier this year. He didn't score the night that I gave him out. He scored a couple the next night against the Arizona Coyotes or whatever. So that's going to be my play for this game. I just think that this is way off price with the way that Pettersson is actually played.
And
I like that you
what
bring
that
that
means, right? If he scores like in the next game or the game after that, but it wasn't when Rob gave it out, he's still gonna tweet out Pettersson goal.
Zach, you can't reveal my strategies to the audience. This is not what we pay you for. Obviously, I'm gonna do that. Yes.
I like that you brought that up though about like that you're gonna do it not just tonight but in other nights. This is a guy you're targeting, because that's kind of how it's kind of why I hate player props from a content perspective, because like I like to provide some analysis, some here's why, and here's why you should be targeting this guy. I'm not gonna write the same thing every day that this guy plays for like a week or whatever, right? Like, right. So I try to set people up for it, and if it loses or wins, I take that kind of one win, one loss, but I'm kind of implying that this is a strategy to kind of enact right now over the course of a larger sample of games when maybe it fits, right? Like a guy like yesterday, he ended up being a late scratch, but I had targeted Mason McTavish. He scored more points per 60 over the last 2 months for the Anaheim Ducks. Well, as many or more than Zegras and Terry. and he's on the top line with Zegras on the top power play. Like, he's a guy that I was targeting at minus 115 to score a point when his line mates are like minus 175 and minus 190, right? So, but like that's going to apply in future games. But, you know, unlike Rob, where I'm looking at he's looking at underperformers. I'm looking at guys that are on absolute benders and have horseshoes driven straight up their asses and have everything going their way, and they're lucky. That's who I like to bet on. And Tim Stützle is that guy right now.
Yeah.
Now, so I've got him packaged in a parlay with Val Nichushkin, who's at where's Nichushkin? Where are you at? Who are you looking at? Oh, Tim Stützle. Wow, that's come down. Oh no, I don't. Where's Cool Bet? It's not there. They had plus 225.
We're using the New Jersey Jersey books here for the wider audience.
Gotcha.
Catering to the audience.
That makes a lot more sense. Lame prices. Anyways, but no, I'm just kidding. There's some I
220 at Caesars is a decent price there, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, 220. Okay, yeah. So Stützle, he is roughly top 5 in goals per 60. He's got 10 goals or 11 goals in his last 10 games, 10 goals in his last 11. Something like that. But 25% shooting percentage. Dude is just, you know, tearing it up right now. But it kind of, I think, brings up an interesting point here. You look at him, and then you look at like a guy like Brady Tkachuk, who gets a ton of shots. Like, how, you know, what's that trade-off? Like, I mean, Stützle, obviously, it's not just luck. He obviously has, you know, scoring prowess. He's got an elite shot in close, and, you know, he can rip it from outside too. But he's a guy that's just scoring a ton of goals right now. And at that price, he's a guy that I've been working into parlay. So I parlayed him with Val Nichushkin at around plus 175, plus 174, something like that. Almost 8-1. I think it was plus 791 was the final.
Zach's got one at 812 there on the screen.
Yeah, there you go. So that's
Yeah.
cool. 8-1 on a two guys that are gonna have a lot of chances. Like Rob said, we expect Pittsburgh, even though Jari's starting, we still expect Pittsburgh and Ottawa to be a barn burner, and Vancouver's totally, you know, just inept defensively. And Nichushkin, he's only been back for a couple games. He's got 9 shots in his last 2 games. He's on the top power play, and he's on the second line with Rantanen, so he's gonna have a ton of opportunities tonight.
Andy, there's a question here. Sorry, Rob, and I just wanted to ask it quickly because I was kind of wondering as well. But Max X asking, what's the reason for parlaying it?
Well, I can answer that for Andy. He's down bad. He's got to win it back.
Yeah. No, I just 2 plus EV bets that I like, and I'm just having a little fun with it because it's, you know, they're goal scorer bets, and I don't do a whole lot of those. I actually do, which I've kind of stolen from a friend of mine. I mentioned him before, Michael Leboff. Goal scorer round robin bets. I have a lot of fun with those. They're, you know, putting together undervalued guys that, you know, really you don't want to be like betting on every single night, but guys like lately Pavel Zacha, right? Tim Stützle, he's been ripping it up, and you know, combining those guys on a round robin, it's been fun.
Fair enough.
I'll never bet.
Can I just gamble sometimes? Can I just fucking gamble sometimes? Huh?
Hey, I just wanted to know if there was anything else going into it.
Tim Stützle and that what's the German the umlaut, is that what they call it? The 2 dots over the thing that screwed up my model for so long, and I didn't even know it was. Tim Stützle is dead to me just because of his last name. That's it. Yes.
You look only Pasternak, Hughes, and Pacioretty, if you want to count him, he's played, you know, only if he hasn't played very many minutes. And Konechny right now have scored more goals. Like, he's up there with Matthews as far as production in the last 10 games. So
he's a great goal scorer. He's just dead to me because he caused me so much grief for such a long time. Every single site that you import stats from has like. Listen, I mean, it's really easy.
One parlay.
Fix,
I think it's the first parlay I've given out in about 5 years, Max. Why don't you shut up?
Andy, I want to ask you in particular, especially because you brought him up there, but I was looking at Brady Tkachuk anytime goal scorer ahead of ahead of the show today, and he was sitting at around plus 180. Was probably the most widely available. You could find plus 190 on Caesars there. I did look into some of the shooting percentages. He's at 8.6 shooting percent, which is about where he's been at throughout his career so far. He did have a great year last year where he was at 10.4.
So is he unlucky, or is he just not an efficient scorer, right? He produces like about double the expected goals that he actually produces in reality. Yeah. I'm just messing with you, Max. I hope you know it's all fun. But yeah, so I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. He's a guy that I think is going to fluctuate around that average, kind of league average scoring. He's going to be really good some years and have a bunch of goals, and it's going to, unless he gets a shooter tutor, gets Adam Oates over there to teach him how to rip that thing a little more efficiently. I don't know, man. Like, I can't shoot a puck. I can barely get it off the ice. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, it's just, he's a guy that I don't think is at this point is unlucky. He's just not. He doesn't have that nose for goals, I guess. He's just a guy that's going to rip it and try to hope for the best. He probably creates most of his offense, a lot of his value probably, like, because if you compare him versus other guys that are shooting as much as he has, he's not up there with them in terms of goals. I think most of his value is just rebounds and stuff like that. But
yeah,
he's definitely not, I don't think, in the same breath as some of these other players yet.
I agree with you. I'm almost never looking to play Tkachuk over or like anytime goal scorer. But my God, if you can find some alternate shots on goal totals for that guy, like, what a machine, you know, in terms of shots on goal.
He is.
It's like, yeah, but you're right. You're right, Andy. Like, you reach a sample size with a player where you're like, okay, this is not luck driven anymore. This is just the player's finishing quality and or the types of shots that he's taking and things of that nature. And I think that, like, people just assume that everything's always going to regress towards the mean, and it doesn't always happen that way. There's people that have better than league average shooting talent or below average shooting talent, and you know,
and there's not like a cap on him. I think he could improve, and like we've seen players elite. He is an elite player, and we've seen people in you know, of his ilk like kind of like learn how to do things better. But you know, just right now, he's just not a guy that I want to be backing at those prices. I want to see him come up and kind of like away from maybe the expectations and more to reality of like what he is doing on a nightly basis.
All right, last question I want to get to here before we wrap it up. We can go through this one quick, but it was we discussed a little bit of the futures. David C. asked, thoughts on the Panthers to win the Cup at 40-1? Seems like they're finally playing the way they were expected to play. Rob, Andy, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, who's behind the bench there again?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, listen, they might find a way to get into the playoffs here at this point. I still think that they're up against it. I think their D-core is awful. And when you backstop a D-core like that with Bobrovsky, I just don't see it ending well, even if they do make it to the playoffs.
How many games has he started yet? Like, I mean, like, yeah. I'm just curious who started, like how many games Bobrovsky started, because he's getting up there, right? Like, I mean, they might burn him the hell out, like, by the end of this season.
Bobrovsky started 30 games.
30. So that's pretty close to the top. What, the most is probably, 37 or something like that?
Well, Spencer Knight, I don't know that he started 30. He's played in 30. Let's put it that way. The goaltending's been so bad because he has 30 and Spencer Knight has 19. Do the math. They haven't played that many games overall.
He started in 29.
Okay, there we go. Connor Hellebuck and Hellebuck, Sorokin, Binnington are all at 35 games played.
Okay, yeah. So he's getting up there, and
he's just not good is the problem. Yeah. Like, that's, you know, he doesn't pass the eye test or the numbers test. What's his goal saved above expected this year? Below average. Goal saved above average is minus 6.97. I mean, some of it is probably the defense as well. It's not a good D-core. They give up a lot of chances. But I just have zero faith in Paul Maurice, like zero. I think that he's a disaster. Was a disaster hire? You see the Jets, like every team he leaves improves, and then every team he goes to gets worse. Like, I don't really understand the infatuation with, I mean, it's an old boys club, the NHL, and these coaches get rehired. But yeah, I don't see it with the Panthers personally. They're not a team that have on my radar.
All right. We do have 2 official picks locked in here today. Elias Pettersson over 0.5 goals or score a goal anytime plus 155 or better. And the other one we've got here is Andy's little degenerate
Andy
parlay.
the degenerate.
When this hits though, Andy, we're tweeting out, all 3 of us. We're tweeting out
fucking
check
right you are.
marks and like everything everywhere. Yeah.
Well, or when one of the 2 hits, you're getting about 40 tweets that are like, shouldn't have parlayed them, asshole. Way to go.
Yeah.
But we're still tweeting out 1 of 2 hits tonight,
Yes.
if it goes
It's
1
true.
for 2.
Yeah.
But Stützle and Valeri Nichushkin, anytime goal scorers, parlayed there. You guys can parlay them, play them individually, however you'd like to. But those are the ones we have locked in. You can find them on the BetStamp app in the Find Better
Parlay
section.
them.
As-
Parlay.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, like I know how this space works, right? If only one of the 2, I hope they both hit, but if only one of the 2 hits, you just send out a simple tweet like, if you had just played these individually, you would be up X units, right? And Zach threw it in there too. Play them individually, parlay them, do whatever. Like he set the course for what the tweet that's coming
disclaimer has
later.
been sent out.
Options yours.
All bets come with caveat.
But you can find these picks. You can see where they're tracked, what books we track them against in the BetStamp app in the Find
I
Better
didn't know you
section.
tracked parlays, man. I thought those were just kind of freebies that we gave out.
No, man. No. Those are all tracked. It's like with the Crew on Wednesday. They had a 4-game parlay that they had, and the final game was the Dallas San Jose game. They had Dallas money line. And it's like I just like looked at it the next morning. I'm like, oh my god, these poor guys.
And he has
Total.
PTSD. Don't bring up that game, please.
I had the team total. They scored 3 goals in the first 33 minutes, had 27 minutes to go over 4.5 and didn't do that.
Yeah, I had Dallas money
Assholes.
line in that one as well,
Assholes.
so it's just unfortunate. But if you guys enjoyed the content today, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. If you're looking for more stuff from Andy, you can find him over on VSiN, where he's giving his...
Connor, look, FanDuel has great prices on Stützle and Val and
Yeah.
aren't listed on BetStamp at the moment. What's
they'll
up with
be-
that,
they'll
guys?
be
You guys got
pulled
some
in.
kind of vendetta against FanDuel or something? Huh?
No, we don't.
Are you not fans of the duel?
I will say what's likely. There's probably a flag that's not turned on in the feed that we're in. Anyways, we'll follow up on that. Appreciate
here
that,
you go.
Connor.
Here you go.
Yeah, Jeff,
Looking into
developer Jeff, looking into it. See, we have a look at this. Look at this BetStamp service right here. Not
at
going to
this.
slip one past these guys.
This is an all-encompassing kind of deal here. You get the customer service, you get the picks.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Parlays, you get the parlays.
Parlays.
You're going to see commercials of Andy soon on TV. It's like, you can parlay within a parlay within a parlay. Oh, no.
If I didn't do that with Hockey Night in Canada producers holding a gun to my head, I'm probably not going to do it anytime soon.
But anyways, if you're looking for more stuff,
a
from Andy-
proverbial like not a literal gun,
Right.
just
Your
make that clear.
proverbial gun, yes. Yes.
Yes, got it. You can find Andy's stuff on
Do the
VSiN
same game
with his-
parlay, you motherfucker.
Bet 365 live odds, Andy. Let's go. Hurry up.
I can't even get us out of here.
Bye, Zach. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
Anyways, if you're looking for more of Andy's stuff, you can find him on VSiN with the VSiN Pro subscription, where you can find his daily hockey
Decent
picks.
Parlay Pro Parlay subscription
Parlay
coming out
Pro
soon.
Plus. Triple P.
And if you're looking for more stuff from Rob, you can find him coming up in 40 minutes on the Forward Progress channel. He's doing an NFL playoff props show with Hitman, Ian McMillan, and John Legeza, going through the games this weekend, looking into some of their favorite props for that. And then you can also find him tomorrow live at 8 p.m. as he goes live to watch the Giants-Eagles game. Before Rob inevitably has to deal with some form of torture as we watch the live Cowboys game together on Sunday night. So make sure to check out the Forward Progress YouTube channel for more NFL content. You can also find more content on the Hammer HQ YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who tuned in here today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and if you did, make sure to subscribe and like this video. That would be greatly appreciated. But good luck on your bets tonight. Andy, Rob, thank you guys. See you next Friday.
Have